Hey, Long Beach. Hey, Long Beach is Jerlene, and I'm live. Okay, I'm a little late, 30 minutes late, but I'm here. Um, just it's been a minute since I've gone live in this style, and I had some technical difficulties. So, anyways, Jerlene, I'm live. Got some guests, but I'm gonna do a little intro. Give me just a moment to do some housekeeping stuff. Want to make sure that I am streaming on all places. If you are out there and if you are watching, give me a thumbs up, give me some love, let me know that you are watching, making sure that I'm live in the right places. So just give me just a moment while I share. If you're watching this, please share with other folks, send them a message or let them know that I'm out here. Very important conversation that I'm going to have. If you've been following my Facebook feed, I've been talking about an upcoming agenda item on the Long Beach Unified School District Board. Why is it important? Well, because this board makes decisions related to public school education here in our city. And right now, and not only our city, Long Beach, Signal Hill, Lakewood. I know folks are hyper focused on what's happening nationally at the national level and how public school education is in danger, especially with the conversation coming out of our federal government talking about the elimination of the Department of Education. Well, right here in our own city, we have governance issues that are going on that we need to be paying attention to. So that is why I am about to have this conversation. So again, just give me a moment as I just make sure that all platforms are a go. Whew, I hope everyone is doing well on this Sunday. I got lots of paper, y'all, lots of paper. So background. Before I bring guests in, I have two guests that are going to be joining me. I will introduce them in just a moment after I want to play something for y'all to let you know why I am alarmed at this agenda item. So there's an agenda item currently on the Long Beach Unified School District Board meeting, our upcoming meeting, that is calling for the revision of bylaws. So bylaws are basically, what governs our school board. What's interesting, this bylaw change is changing the bylaws from a 7-page bylaws to a 43-page bylaws. Really interesting. I'm going to get in the nuts and bolts of that. Yet back in December, I believe it was December 7th, there was a special meeting of the board held on a Saturday. It was supposed to be a board retreat. And at this board retreat / special meeting, the bylaw revisions were on there. And this meeting initially was not live streamed. Folks were not made aware that there was going to be a special meeting to begin with, or even what was going to be on this agenda until last moment. Several of us found out because we're nerds and we're geeks and we'd be paying attention to all that stuff. But anyway, individuals showed up to give public comment. Public comment was never recorded. The minutes to this meeting were not even posted. I don't know if they're posted now. I have not even taken a chance to taken the time to look at that, but maybe one of the guests that's joining me will be able to share more information. So what I am going to do, before I invite the guest in, so my guests, please be patient with me as I do this. I am going to show you a clip from the meeting, and I'm going to explain to you what made me alarmed. So hopefully folks can see this screen that I just pulled up. This is from the December 7th, 2024 board meeting when the bylaws are being discussed. So in this picture, you will see board member Lopez, Benitez, Superintendent Baker, board member Craighead, attorney Strumford or something, and then two consultants from the schools of great council school or whatever. I'll tell you more about them in just a moment. Yet I have it queued up at a specific area. So I'm going to read something. So if anyone, again, if you've been following me over the years, I've gone to the school board meeting multiple times to remind our board what they are responsible for as elected officials. And like I said, I was sharing. So this is a copy of the document that was distributed on that day. And as I said, our board laws were 7 pages, and now they are proposed to be 43 pages. Well, in the original bylaws, and I just be patient with me, get your notes out. I'm going to just read a couple things. So in the original bylaws that are 7 pages long, it reads the following: that a board, and this is under Board Bylaw 9000. This is item number 2, board members' responsibilities. Establishing an effective and efficient organizational structure for the district by employing the superintendent, setting policy for hiring of other personnel, overseeing the development and adoption of policies, establishing academic expectations, and adopting the curriculum and instructional materials that meet the social compliance established by the state of California. And then there's a D, a E, and an F. I'm not going to read those. But one that's really important is the employing the superintendent and setting policy for hiring of other personnel. That is what our school district is responsible for. That is why we have school board members. But I want to play this. So I have it queued up where the consultant basically says, we are going to start with item 9000. Who has an edit? So hopefully this plays without any hitches. Give me just, okay. And then I'm going to bring my guest in. All right, folks. So right now, just listen up.
From 3.
Okay, of course, I did not have it queued up at the right place. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my guest in while I can get this queued up. But I really want you all to hear this. So just give me a moment. Let me bring the guest in. Hello, can you two bring yourselves on camera? So joining me, I have Dr. Kim Tabari and Tonya Reyes Uranga. Okay, where are they? Bring yourselves on in. Okay. So can you two do me a favor? Can you introduce yourself while I get this queued up in the right place? Okay, because I want to play this, and then because I actually wanted you all to give some feedback. So first of all, introduce yourself, what capacity you're here while I get this queued up.
Tonya, would you like to go first?
Sure. I'm a grandparent of an LBUSD student. I ran for school board years back. And you probably know me as a former 7th District Council person, but I too have been joining Jerlene in some of the school board meetings, and so it's important to me knowing that I'm here because I care about the children in the schools, and so this is a good opportunity to learn, but also to give my opinion on what I think what's going on, especially with my experience in governance at the city level.
Great. Nice to have you here in conversation. And I am Dr. Kim Tabari. Many of you know I've been a champion for all things student related. My son grew up in the Long Beach Unified School District from kindergarten all the way to graduation. He just graduated. He's officially a college student now. And in the span of those years, I've sat on school site councils, I've sat on the superintendent committee, I've sat on the Black Student Achievement Advisory Committee. I've been a member of PTAs. I've been part of the football team, parents, just a plethora of things. And I've been very involved in understanding the inner workings of our district, both from the inside and the outside. And so this is why these bylaws changes are so alarming, and I'm glad to be in conversation about them tonight.
Thank you two for joining. Okay, I think I got this queued up. So what I would I know you were backstage when I was attempting to get this playing. This is a clip from the Long Beach Unified School District Board meeting from December 7th. The first item, or the first item on the bylaws is 9,000. So I know you've both reviewed them, but I want to play this because 9,000 basically sets the guidelines for the board members. But I want you to hear how and I read this prior to you guys come on it, what one board member says when asked what he would like to see done. So let me pull this back up again. All right, so it's really quick. Let's make this happen.
Yeah.
I keep doing it again. Okay, I'm gonna have to come back to that. So let's just go ahead with our discussion because clearly I cannot get my mouse in the right place.
Well, Jerlene, can you summarize what you were trying to get us to listen to?
Yes, I just wanted, okay.
In a
yes.
sentence or two.
Okay. What I was reading was the establishing an effective and efficient organization, employing the superintendent. Board member Benitez, when asked what does he want edited, he says remove all of 2. Now, number 2, and I guess maybe here it'd be better if I do it this, I'll do this instead. He says remove all of 2. Well, to remove all of 2 means you basically strip the board members of their entire role and responsibilities. So what I'll do, I'll just show it. And I want to, and so what that, hearing that made me very alarmed because I said, here it is, we have school board members that are basically giving away their own authority and power. And that is what prompted me to really be mindful and pay attention to what's going on with this agenda item and to dive deep into the actual documents. So, all right, so let's get rocking and rolling.
You know, Jerlene, I was at that meeting. You could see me in the background if you notice. But anyway, I'm in the background. I didn't hear about the meeting till very late. I couldn't find anything online. And so I think someone gave me the bylaws that they were going to be discussing about 11 o'clock the night before. So it was really difficult to try to grasp what they wanted to do. But it was really strange because there wasn't any coherency. Because when they first opened the meeting, they had suggested that the governance, this whole governance is really about student outcome, to having a student outcome focused board. Yet there's nothing about students in these bylaws. It's all about the relationship between the board and the superintendent, and a little bit about their relationship with community. And plus, we need to note that that nothing was voted on at this meeting as well. They had agreements, but they didn't vote. They didn't take official vote. And usually they don't on a workshop. It's just to get you interested in understanding exactly what the item is. But yet, and maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but the bylaws that are in on Wednesday night that are scheduled for review and vote, there's a lot of them that are missing because they assumed, I guess, that an agreement means a vote. It doesn't mean a vote. So it's tragic because all this stuff that's going on is supposed to be about students, and there's nothing in there that makes them more efficient to be student outcome focused. And as a matter of fact, it lessens it because they've been spending so much time on these bylaws, and yet they're not being transparent, and the direction they're going in is absolutely not student focused, and actually it's not community focused either. So maybe we can get that discussion going.
Okay, so what I pulled up, I'm showing you what board member Benitez had said that he wanted eliminated. Immediately following that, board member Lopez said, put it back. And so again, that is what drew me to this conversation, or to take a deeper look into it. So for the new agenda item, they are planning on, like I said, so it's a 43-page document. At least the new one is a 43-page document. Out of this document, actually it's this one right here. Out of this document, on Wednesday, they are planning on voting on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sections of the bylaws. And so let's go through them. So do you want me to pull them up? Because, for example, the first item that is in this bylaws, the change is very minimal. It's like a 1-line change, which were originally approved. 9,010 was originally approved in 2022. And
Which I want
then,
to add that it's unusual for organizations to change bylaws every 2 years or even every 1 year. If you have a solid set of bylaws, it doesn't mean that they can't be, that it's not a living document, but normally you work with a set of bylaws that are pretty basic, and this is it's overkill is what it is.
okay.
And I also think, Jerlene, you mentioned earlier that it went from 7 pages to 43 pages. That alone should give us as a community pause. Because what are you honestly writing in, do the math, 7 minus 43. What are you honestly putting in all those pages? And what I noticed too is that some of the pages, there's only 7 sections listed, right? But there are changes throughout the entire document that are not listed to be voted on. So the very first section, section 9,000, has edits, but it's not on the list for approval. So it's so haphazard. It's irresponsible. The fact that their counsel okayed this, their legal counsel looked at this, it's an embarrassment that they're putting this forward to be voted on. Right? There are whole sections with edits that's not on the agenda. So what will happen is that people will approve this as is, not recognizing all the changes that are happening. There are huge swaths of this document that are brand new, which really should be in red. It's called red line version for a reason. There are huge sections that are brand new, like a brand new pair of Nikes. They should be in red. They are not. So it is dishonest. And I'm deeply, deeply disappointed. I'm sorry. This is, I have been working with bylaws and governance in different organizations that I've been in for the past 20 years. So when I see some shit like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't curse. When I see some stuff like this, just haphazardly done, trying to pull the wool over our eyes because we're not educated, intelligent community members. I mean, come on. Okay, I'll stop.
Well, I agree with you. When I was going through them, for example, 9010, which I have pulled up here, the only change is this really small slither that's in blue here. 9011, which was approved by the board in 2019. Let me pull it up. There's no changes at all to it. And so I was wondering, like, why are they voting on a section where there are absolutely no changes at all, unless they're going to sneak some changes in there when we're not looking? And then also, like, people are like, well, what's the big deal? When I went through these other items, they seemed, the other components seem kind of benign. They're not as alarming as the sections that they're not voting on, which we do need to, I want to talk about, although they're not being voted on. Specifically the conflict of interest item. So anyway, so what I'm doing, I'm just going to kind of scroll through. So this is one that's being changed. Let's go to 31. Just be patient. So I want people to kind of see how massive this document is. Anywhere that there's blue, that's a proposed change. And back to what Tonya had said, that we're kind of thinking, are they just going to like not vote on each item, just kind of like, oh, well, there was a consensus, so we're just going to roll with it?
When you talk about school board members' responsibility, it's really to represent the community that elected them. And so if they just got this probably in the last week, and if the public just got it on Friday, trying to absorb and find out, compare 2 documents, the old ones, the new ones, the first draft of the new ones, the second draft of the new ones. That's like going through over 100, maybe 150 pages. And so to expect a parent who has children that are going to school, that are, they have a weekend, that they have baseball games, whatever, to try to sit down and do this. Now, you know how long you took to figure this out, and to expect them. And hopefully the thing is that maybe board members should have had enough time to be able to go to their community and have a community session or open house or something to talk about this, because this really affects how your board member represents you as a community member and as a parent in the school. And it's what they're basically doing is putting a muzzle over our school board members, and some of them aren't complaining about it.
Yeah.
And we should.
Well, I mean, going back to the piece that I was attempting to show was how board member Benitez was willing to just waive all of his role and responsibility, especially in the process that he's responsible for being a decision maker in the hiring of the superintendent. So that in itself right there is very frightening. So what I pulled up is 931. And so I have some notes. And are you able to see that okay, Kim?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. Can you read, pick a part, pick one, a number, or read them all. It doesn't matter.
Now, what's the title of this? I think it's best to read the title. So start there. The title of 931.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Kim. Uh-oh, did I lose you?
Can't hear you, Kim. We lost you.
Sorry, I'm unmuted. Board member concerns regarding the performance of staff who do not report directly to the board. Is that the one that's on screen?
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
So what's interesting about this
is a brand new section.
Yeah. What's interesting about this, first of all, the board should not be engaging with staff members. That is not their role and responsibility. They're not supposed to be involved in the daily operations of the business in a sense, right? But the thing that got me with this is there an issue? Has there been an issue? Why is this being pushed? Has someone already done this? Is there a violation? Why are we putting this in writing, right? And then something that really threw me off is number 4. Because 1, 2, and 3, it talks about personnel, right? And communicating with the superintendent. But number 4, I'm gonna read it. When a board member has concerns about the performance of district employees, which relate to employee, student, board, or community safety, the board member will notify the superintendent and, when appropriate, the police department.
As in the Long Beach Police Department or the Long Beach Unified Office of Safety? I'm confused there.
And trying to figure out why board is in there. I don't. So the board member's gonna talk. Has a concern about board staff.
Yeah, when a board member has concerns about the performance of employees, which relate to employee, student, board, it doesn't even match the title of the header of the page. So, yeah. Any thoughts on that before I go to the next one?
I would just say that your responsibility as a board member, and I've sat on board, so I know you are not to deal directly with staff, right? There is an executive director usually, or somebody in between that those responsibilities go to. As a board member, you should not be interacting with staff. That is quite illegal, if I may say so.
Right. So again, was there an issue? Why is this here? So this one right here, this one's really issue.
And again, this is a new section. I'm going to say again, this is a new section. It's not in red. This is red lined. Wherever it's new should be in a different color. Hello.
So you should read the title.
But the title, Board Bylaw 9032, Superintendent Concerns About Board Member Behavior.
Shouldn't we monitor that? I mean, we're the public, they represent us. So they're talking about giving the superintendent the power to oversee the board. That's just ass backwards, excuse me. So they're allowing her, in this instance, it could be a he in the future or whatever, but to give the power to the superintendent so that they get to the point where they have this discipline or whatever for the board member that leads to censorship, which is not even going to be just, it's not they're not going to look at that, or they're looking at it, but they're not going to vote on it supposedly tomorrow, but I wouldn't put it past them if they did. Yeah, so it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's super. So, and I'm like, when did it become the job of the superintendent to monitor board members' behavior? And that's so subjective. What does that even mean? And so, the one thing, I was like, this is a very slippery slope, right? So say a board member has an issue with the superintendent's outcomes, and they address that to the superintendent. So now the superintendent can complain, can go and even, it's even further. It talks about the superintendent can go to the board president and basically complain about another board member.
So if a board member disagrees, if they want to hold her accountable for a promise she made or a policy that was established by the board, or if they just get into it because maybe there was she or he was not presented properly, or I don't know, just so whatever the disagreement is, or trying to hold them accountable, then she could run to the president and then they could censure that board member. I think it's ridiculous. Also, if you talk about the president, we've had the same president for 3 years. I think they're really good friends.
You mean 3 terms?
3 years.
Oh yeah, it's a year term. Okay, yeah.
I just want to remind folks that are watching that we are having this very informal conversation about a very formal process. Board bylaws are a very formal process. This particular section 9032 is not formal at all, because the superintendent is hired and reviewed by the board. How dare this section be put in there about the board members' behavior? That is inappropriate.
Talk about a conflict there. I mean, it's very glaring. And like you said,
it reminds me of a very white supremacy practice that you put rules in place to attack people that you want to get out of the system. That's what it reminds me of. We've got a lot of policies across the United States that are put in place to keep Black and brown folks in their place, or not access to things, or not eligible for things, right? And these are done by policies and procedures. This is no different. You are targeting people, specific people, when you put things like language like this in an official document.
Well, one thing that kind of bothers me is I believe it was during the last campaign, it may have been at the Leadership Long Beach Candidates Forum. It may have been, and if I'm wrong, someone check me, tell me exactly where. Our current board president, Craighead, made the comment when asked why was she, what was her role or responsibility, or what she plans on doing or whatever. It was,
why was she running again?
Yeah, and it was to protect the superintendent, not to protect our children, not to ensure that there's a better increase in positive outcomes amongst our kids, but to protect the superintendent. And so reading this right there, I was reminded of that. And I'm like, whoa. So if the superintendent is buddy with the president, and then she goes to snitch on another board member, what does that mean? Slippery slope. Okay.
Well, all the board members should be concerned about this. I don't know any board member that should be voting for this. I mean, that's like having a city manager reprimand and tell us these are the priorities for the city. It's not that they don't do that.
Right.
That's opposed to the city council establishes the policies and priorities for the city and the funding that goes along with it. And so what this says is, no, they don't. It's the superintendent, apparently. Because if they get in a disagreement, if one says, yes, I like this program, or no, you are not, the program you've established is ineffective in my community and you're not listening to me, then who's in charge? ¿Quién manda? Like say in Spanish, who's the one in charge here? It's.
So the other thing that's puzzling to me is that this entire document, this long, ridiculous document, there are parts that are not listed on the agenda that they're technically voting on. Why are they even in the document?
Well, I guess they're dividing it up and they're going to be voting on different sections each month.
But then those sections shouldn't be in this run.
Well, no, well, they're shown in the document, but they specifically in the agenda, they listed which ones. But what you bring up is concerning, because at the last agenda or last meeting, the board voted on something called a board implementation timeline. And if you go through this document, and Lopez did not vote for this. She and I had wanted to cue that up, but y'all see my queuing up skills are really poor, so apologies for that.
Yes.
I was trying.
It's all good. It's all good. You're doing this out of the goodness of your heart. You're not an expert.
Right. If you go through this, there's things in this calendar, in this timeline, that are the same language in what's being approved in the bylaws. So I'm
sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah, so it was like, wait a minute. And so I was like, no, this is not a policy. This is not a process. This is a timeline. But why are they voting on things that are outlined? So to me, I felt like they're sneaking in some kind of approval in a really dirty type of way.
Well, especially, and this is speaking to Kim's point, they have all the ones they're not going to vote on already in this document.
Exactly. That is not allowed.
But if you look at the next agenda item, this is 16.1. Right. 16.2 is supposedly to discuss ways that they can to the rest of the agenda items or rest of the bylaws, adhering to the time frame that they voted on the week before the last meeting. And the time frame is March of 2025. This is the last meeting for March. So how are they going to do that? I mean, how are they going to do that? I bet anything that they're going to have someone that's going to make a motion. Although it is an information item.
Someone will make a motion to approve the entire bylaws as is presented to the board, and that's what will happen.
That's what it looks like.
It is very dishonest. I am very disappointed in the people that sit on the board, particularly my representative, Doug Otto, who is an attorney. I am completely disappointed that this is something with someone with his legal stature would allow. You cannot put things in here that you're not going to vote on, because guess what? If you approve everything, you approve everything. Yeah. That's just how it works. Yeah. Are they going to read every single section to approve? We're not approving 90.33, but we're approving 90.01. We're not approving 90.32, but we're approving. Come on. This is not grade school, guys. You're elected officers. And I hope they're watching this live tomorrow and see the disappointment that we have in this process. This is not equity and excellence. Come on. You should be
certainly not student focused. That's right.
No, it's not. And that's man, I don't want to deviate from this very boring part of this process. This is being supported or led by a consultant, and the consultant, what is it? Schools. Here, let me pull this up. Council of Great City Schools. So the district contracted with a consultant. The consultant's been around for a while. They just renewed the contract for $85,000. Okay, for board governance, $85,000 for this stuff. Okay. Yet when doing the research because one thing that came out, I believe in the previous meeting in December, was that these bylaws were modeled after San Francisco. So I looked up San Francisco. And what's really interesting, portions of these bylaws are identical, verbatim to San Francisco. Long Beach Unified is not San Francisco. Our demographics are not the same. Our outcomes are not the same. Our constituency is not the same. So why is Long Beach Unified utilizing board bylaws from a city that does not even compare with us? And the reason why is because the consultant that they hired worked in San Francisco on the exact same for the governance. What is it? Governing for student outcome, the exact same thing, but the results have not been positive.
And I guess the question is, if 85,000 is a second payment, what was the first payment, which we need to look up. But if when it's just template, it's really just a template. And so we're paying for someone to just copy whatever they did and bring it over, because it's really hasn't changed much at all if you look at the ones in San Francisco, like you said.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that when you're paying for a consultant, you're paying for a host of things. And so I'm sure he has a contract where he's got a scope of work and other things that he's doing besides cutting and pasting bylaws. I know that, just from watching the board meetings for the last year, that there are some other things that he's doing. So I'm not gonna knock it to say, I mean, it's a consultation fee. It is what it is. Like to me, that's I'm least interested in that. I'm more interested in how are we going to stop these bylaws from moving forward and getting voted upon and just being stuck with this ridiculous laws.
But we're paying somebody to do this. So the district has paid somebody for this ridiculousness. That's where that's the problem. So here I have pulled up is 50 conflicts of interest. Very, I don't even know how many pages this one takes up. Honestly, it was way too much for me to even process. But the couple questions that I had about 50 were, aren't there laws on the books that already spell out conflict of interest? Aren't electeds required to sign off on something on a regular basis talking about conflict of interest? And here it says the board desires to maintain high ethical standards. But let's not even talk about ethical standards, because we got some unethical crap that it's constantly happening from management staff. So
it says desires.
So the board shall review and adopt the district's conflict of interest code each year. So my question is, who's writing it? Administrative staff? Who's writing a conflict of interest? And who gets to determine what's a conflict of interest? Because clearly when the superintendent last year decided to fill out the questionnaire for Doug Otto and Eric Miller, that wasn't questioned. And it was illegal in campaign law. Anyway, I had to bring that up, y'all.
The conflict of interest, there's standard wording, and you do have to sign something every year. I mean, whether you're on any board that you're on, and we have to do it at city council, we have to do it at the board that I'm on. And this one is interesting, though. I just have to point it out. On page 40, they were talking about this third degree, that there is not just the immediate family or whatever, but there's this next level of conflict that you have. And I'm going to read it real quick, if you don't mind. A relationship within the third degree includes an individual's parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, and the similar family of the individual spouse, registered domestic partner, unless the individual is widowed or divorced. Now, sometimes you may not even know you have a nephew or a niece or an uncle or a great aunt or something that's involved somewhere, or maybe has a school, goes to one of the schools. Or I just don't even understand that. Like, what is that about? What is that about? When my mother was one of 17 children. All I had was cousins around me. My friends were my cousins. There's going to school. So I don't even know what this means. Relative means an adult who is related to the board member by affinity. Let's see.
Yeah, and what's interesting, on this right here, it was talking about how a board member shall abstain from voting on personal matters that uniquely affect their relatives. However, a board member may vote on collective bargaining agreements and personal matters that affect a class of employees to which a board member's relative belongs. Okay, that means if you have if you're married to a teacher, you can still
vote.
Yeah,
but then on the next time it says you shouldn't vote on the next page. So
yeah, but what's interesting, this whole conflict of interest thing, the one thing that came to mind is that our board is completely compromised, because I know a minimum of 3 of them have accepted, because there's something here about bargaining or whatever. Like I said, this was a lot to take in. 3 of our board members have received considerable amount of contributions from the Teachers Association of Long Beach. So does that mean that they are not it's a conflict of interest and that they can't vote on bargaining? In my opinion, they shouldn't be able to. They shouldn't even be able to be a part of that process, especially once you received $300,000 from the union. But again, like it's contradictory. Basically, it contradicts itself. Like I said, that part was very heavy. So again,
overkill. I mean, again, overkill.
Yeah. So again, what we're doing, we are having what did you say, Kim? An informal conversation about something very formal.
Yeah. I do want to talk a little bit about 9033, section 9033, and that's sort of the step-by-step way of dealing with a board member's behavior.
Yeah. So let's.
It's not on the agenda. So it's miraculously going to somehow get on an agenda at some point in time, and somehow miraculously it's in the bylaws that they're looking at this week, but it's not agendized, this particular section. I want to make that clear. But
I actually found that one of the most alarming things in the
same. So this particular section, for those of you that may not have the patience to read this lovely document, this particular section talks a lot about censure, right? A censure is an action that is a permanent change in status until lifted by the board via majority vote. So in layman's terms, a board member, an elected official, can be censured by the board, and they will be known as a censored board member. Not just a board member, but a censored board member.
32 is step 1. 9032 is step 1 in order to get to 9033. This actually, oh wow, what happened? Oh, it must have been congratulating me. Did you guys see that background? I was like, yeah. 9033, this is the one where it's like almost verbatim from San Francisco. And this also made, like, again, regarding board member behavior. The only people who should be commenting on board member behavior are the people who voted for the board members.
And it's particularly
the public.
They limit them, the board of directors, on how, the questions that they can ask, where they can go, who they can talk to. And they have to have this, like, what was that book where you had to put the A on the lady who committed adultery? Well, now they have to walk around with a C.
Scarlet letter.
Yeah. So they have to have the scarlet letter of censorship on all written documents. And when they introduce them, they have to say, oh, the censured the individual, Jerlene Tatum. So it's like, it is not only petty, but it's like, it's so childish and stupid. I mean, you can get a censure for not going with the board norms, but yet they don't define what a board norm is. And you can also be censured if you have not adhered to board operating procedures. Well, what are the operating procedures? I mean, is that really written? If it's written someplace, maybe they should let us know. It's crazy. Let's see, where is the other one that I was concerned about? Yeah, operating procedures. What if you have a conflict with another board member? They just want revenge, or they want to kind of highlight that you're just really not agreeing with them, and they get to that point where it's just something that maybe you're not dealing with the norms, or you're not dealing with the discussion in a proper way. This is the stupidest thing. I could see something illegal. I could see something illegal or immoral. If someone did something like that, then maybe you consider it. But for not adhering to norms or operating procedures, give me a break.
There's some
other. I have to say, I'm actually really, really disturbed by this section. And I'm really, really, really embarrassed for our district that we would put this in writing and put it out publicly and try to pass it at a board meeting. It really struck me. I was at a loss for words sitting in the airport reading this over the weekend. I could not believe it.
Well,
You know,
again,
there's
once again,
there's
all
part,
board members should be considered, and all board members should not. I mean, they shouldn't even. Why would they? Why would they vote for it? I don't understand.
well, there's parts in here where there's something I read, and I can't tell you what version. And right now, all my papers are mixed up. But something about board meetings shouldn't go past 9 p.m.
I
What?
saw that.
You were elected to serve, baby. 9 p.m. What? Then y'all need to have meetings that are accommodating for the public that don't start at 5 p.m. How about that? I'm saying, like, they're more concerned with their accommodations than there are our accommodations. Somewhere in here there was something. Oh my goodness, y'all, my notes are like all mixed up. That board member, they could go around not
Well,
having everybody vote on
let me make a
something.
point while you're looking at your looking for yours. Silencing our board members is silencing us. If they're going to be censuring them, they're censuring us. Then they're not giving us the ability to have someone on that board that's going to speak for our community. You know, not granted, there's some that just don't do it anyway, but this makes it like a stamp. Like I said, that stamp on their chest that says you are censured, and we don't even know for what reason. I mean, some of these look pretty silly if you ask me, but just think of it as you being censured as a community member. That's really what it is. I mean, we are the ones who put them there. We're the ones that could take them out. You know?
Yeah, they may not even have access to district staff, to district facilities, to district events, to district athletics, to district graduation. I mean,
It
come
takes all the
on.
yeah.
We elected these people. If there's any pushback on censorship, it should come from the public, not from the other 4 people that sit next to you. That is too much power for individuals to have over someone that was elected. And I can guarantee you that if the only white man on that board is ever censured, this will disappear quickly. We have 4 people of color on that board, 1 white man. Do you think the white man is going to get censured? Let me ask you that. Do you think that's going to happen in the future? I don't see that happening to a white male or a white female on that board. I don't see this happening. But let's put these policies in place so that if there are people of color on this board that you need to find a way to get off, this is one way to do it, right? This is how white supremacy tactics work. Let's not sleep. Let's not play games. Let's call a thing a thing.
Well, hey, this was happening at a national level, right? It was state, national level, and so it's happening here in Long Beach.
But you know what concerns me too is the timing. You watch how many of these censures, well, the first one anyway, probably, will come right before an election so that they have to be referred to and be kept tied up in terms of what they can do and activities and how they could be presented, if at all, as a censured board. Oh, here's a school board member that wants to run for re-election and they're censured. Come on. I mean, that is.
It's the same way the Republicans stack the courts across the United States right now. And so things aren't moving, right? It's the same playbook. Let's implement these laws that will slow things down in the future, because this is chess. This is not checkers. This is chess. This is a chess move right here.
And saying that it's for it's to increase student outcome, more student outcome focus is more of a farce. That's not.
I'm so disappointed. My heart is actually really broken.
All right. So call to action. So what we're requesting for people who are watching this, we are asking you to email your representative. Email your representative. CC the president of the board. I will drop this information in the body of this post and in the comments, and ask them to remove agenda items 16.1 and 16.2 from the agenda. I mean, you can look at them and go, oh, well, this one isn't so bad. Maybe they should vote on this one. No, because first of all, we don't trust that they're going to do the right thing to begin with. And some of this stuff, how do we go from a 7-page document to a 43-page document? And this is, and so for example, Diana Craighead has been on the board since 2014. Benitez has been on the board since 2018. Miller 2020 and Lopez, Miller and Otto, I think both 2020, I think, is that right? And Lopez 2022. So going back to our board members, our senior board members, Benitez and Craighead. So are you telling me in all this time that they've been serving on the board that they've just been not serving us properly? That it requires a bylaws to go from 7 pages to 43 pages? There's so many things that should be questioned. One thing, they have special counsel that is supporting them. Wayne Strumford, who has a contract that was initiated. He was the legal counsel for the district. They brought in somebody else to be the legal counsel, but they've hired or kept Strumford on to be special counsel. And he has a contract that was, I guess it was renewed or extended or opened in September 2024, and it goes to September 27. Now, one thing about this, if you look at the structure, the infrastructure of certain boards in other places, boards have their own counsel. There has to be a conflict here that the fact that this person is special counsel to the district is also providing counsel to the board. So who do you think their loyalties lie? Is it with the board, or is it with the superintendent who they've been providing services for? So that's something that's very questionable. So those are things that, again, makes all of this kind of really interesting. And also for any of us who have worked in nonprofit or corporations, there's bylaws and there's policies and procedures. How many of these things can actually be in a policy and procedure? Right. And again, I go back to the clip that I was attempting to show earlier, where one of the board members wanted to just erase their responsibility to be in the hiring body for the superintendent. That's why we have a board.
So like someone else wants to have like a wants to be able to be president for life. I mean, this is crazy. It's not democratic. It's not fair, and it's not representative of Long Beach Unified School. Well, maybe it is representative, and that's real sad if it is. Maybe it is. Maybe that's what it's about. I don't know.
Any final thoughts, Kim?
It's been a great conversation. Thanks to you both. I enjoy just understanding some of the behind the scenes work that has gone into this. And thank you, Jerlene and Tonya, for digging into this a little bit more. I have to say, I know that I sounded upset, and I was, and I still am in many ways, but I want to hold on to hope. I want to hold on to hope that our community will step up and do the right thing and fight for our children. My son is no longer in the district, right? But it's important for me to keep doing this work because I have many of my friends in Long Beach who still have their kids in the district. And actually, I was talking to someone the other night, 2 people the other night, that said they're probably going to take their kids out of the district because they don't like what they see, right? They don't like what's happening, right? That's a whole other story. But I'm holding on to hope that if you're listening to this, that you really do something, even if it's sending an email. If you can't get to the board meeting on Wednesday, we understand life happens. Life is lifing, but stream it online. That's easy to do. Follow folks on social media so you know what's happening, because these are your tax dollars going into education, right? Whether you have kids, so you might have nieces, nephews, grandkids, your neighbor's kids, right? They're kids in your sphere, and many of them are, if you live in Long Beach, they're part of the district. So I'm holding on to hope that our community will step up and do the right thing, and it's not just on these 3 shoulders that you see sitting here. Thanks, Jerlene.
Correction to what I said before. Lopez was elected in began her term in 2023. I said 2022, it's 2023. I'm gonna share, let me put this comment up. Sounds like this is an intentional, targeted effort to censor Maria Isabel, since she's the only one willing to express opposition and hold the district accountable. This is very frightening. If I didn't say this, I observed the same thing, and I've had conversation with both Dr. Tabari and Tonya about this prior to our call. And we know to make that kind of statement is a very huge assumption, but we've observed the board meetings. We watch the board meetings. We actually read the agenda. And I've worked in nonprofit. I've worked in corporate. One of the worst things any organization can ever do is create laws, bylaws, and rules that are attached to specific individuals. That is really bad management. That's not ethical. It is bad. It is not even a good practice. And organizations do it. But to see that there you go. Look, I said something good. Look at that. But organizations do it, and it's detrimental to the organization. And so if Long Beach Unified, if the administrative staff and utilizing this consultant and utilizing their legal counsel to do such a thing, that is horrible.
But not only that, I believe she's the only one with K through 12 experience. So it's not an issue of qualification. It's an issue of they just don't want to be rattled, I guess. But this is our school district. There are kids, and it's our taxpayer dollars. So you got to do something. You can't just sit this one out.
Yeah. Ladies, thank you. I know we went over way longer. Part of it was because me and my technical difficulties. I do appreciate you all taking the time. I appreciate the community members who have been in collaboration in helping to dive through this. We were not able to actually go. I mean, the notes that I have are extensive, and this is a lot. And so, again, when we opened up, and Tony was talking about, for just us to do this, this takes away from our time, our family, and that is why we have representatives that are supposed to be the liaisons between the constituents and the school board. Unfortunately, we have school board members that, and this is just my opinion, they're okay with this because they don't want to do the work. They're okay with this because they don't want to hear from us. They're okay with this because they really don't give a damn about our children.
Please follow Long Beach Education Connection. We'll post some updates there. Follow Jerlene on her page. And if you know Tonya, follow Tonya. I don't know how open her page is, but follow us, reach out for more information. But please, please, please step up and do something.
All right. Thank you, everybody. It's been Jerlene with Dr. Tabari, Tony Reyes Uranga, conversation to inform, engage. Hopefully we've inspired you to move. All politics are local. Everything is political, unfortunately. And what happened? Oh, did I do that? I don't know what's happening, but anyway. Anyway, have a good evening, ladies. Do not leave. Do not leave the studio. All right. Thank you all. Engage, inform, inspire.